The rescue team worked with speed and precision, armed with smoke canisters to push back the aggressive bees. 2 rangers shielded the mother cheetah, keeping her calm while others carefully scooped the cubs into protective blankets. The cubs whimpered weakly, their tiny hearts racing as the stings left them struggling for breath. The rescuers applied soothing herbal salves and anti-venom treatments, gently cleaning each sting while keeping the cubs warm against shock. Hours passed in tense silence, with the mother pacing anxiously, her amber eyes fixed on her cubs. Slowly, signs of life returned. The youngest cub lifted its head, followed by the others who blinked and let out faint cries. Relief washed over the team as the family was finally reunited. Under the twilight sky, the mother cheetah nuzzled her cubs, her purrs vibrating softly as they huddled close to her once more. The swarm had been deadly, but courage, quick action, and compassion had saved fragile lives that evening. The grasslands grew quiet again, as if honoring the heart-stopping rescue that had preserved the future of the swiftest hunters of the wild. The mother cheetah, confused and distraught, let out a low growl. Her instincts screamed at her to protect her cubs, but she also recognized the presence of the humans who had arrived before. She had seen them from afar many times, patrolling the lands, checking waterholes, and monitoring wildlife. Somehow, deep within her primal mind, she sensed that these were not enemies. Still, she paced back and forth, her ears flat and her tail flicking sharply, torn between trust and fear. "Hold her back," Kamau said firmly, his voice steady but urgent. Another ranger positioned himself between the mother cheetah and the rescuers, slowly extending his arm, showing calm movements. He knew that sudden gestures could provoke her. "Easy, mother, easy," he whispered softly, though he knew she couldn't understand his words. Yet his tone carried a reassurance that resonated beyond language. Meanwhile, Amina dropped to her knees beside the cubs. Their tiny bodies were limp, their breathing shallow, their fur matted where dozens of bees had stung them. She could see their little flanks rising and falling in weak rhythm, and each faint breath felt like a fragile thread between life and death. Her heart pounded in her chest. She had treated many animals before, but something about the innocence of cubs, so small, so helpless, always tore at her soul. "Get the salve ready," she called to another ranger, who hurriedly prepared the anti-inflammatory balm made from local herbs known to reduce swelling and venom effects. Carefully, Amina wrapped each cub in a soft cloth, both to keep them warm and to shield them from any stray bees that might still attack. The youngest cub let out a faint whimper, its voice barely audible, and her heart leapt at the sound. It was proof that life still clung to their fragile frames. The team worked in silence except for the distant hum of bees and the nervous growls of the mother cheetah. Every movement had to be precise, every decision made in the pressure of fleeting seconds. The cubs' tiny eyes were swollen shut from stings, their legs twitching involuntarily as toxins coursed through their bodies. Kamau administered a carefully measured dose of antihistamine through a small injection, while another ranger gently dabbed soothing ointment along the cubs' faces and paws. The mother cheetah crouched low to the ground, her amber eyes fixed on her cubs. She let out a mournful cry, a sound so raw and aching that even the rescuers felt the weight of her pain. They worked faster, driven not just by duty, but by the emotional bond that echoed between mother and children. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Slowly, the cubs' shallow breaths grew steadier. Their trembling eased, and one of them, the boldest of the three, lifted its small head ever so slightly. It let out a weak but determined mew, as if declaring its will to survive. "They're responding," Amina whispered, relief flooding her voice. The other rangers exchanged quick glances of hope. They continued their care with even more dedication, massaging the cubs' limbs to encourage circulation, ensuring they did not slip into shock. As twilight deepened across the savanna, the bees finally retreated, drawn back to the safety of their broken hive. The air, once vibrating with chaos, grew calmer. A soft breeze carried away the last traces of smoke, and the world seemed to breathe again. Now came the most delicate part, returning the cubs to their mother. The rangers understood that cheetahs were highly sensitive. If the mother sensed strange scents on her cubs, there was a risk she might reject them. Amina and Kamau exchanged a silent nod. They knew what to do. Gently, they rubbed bits of earth and grass over the cub's fur, masking the human scent with the familiar fragrance of the wild. Then, with slow, deliberate movements, they placed the cubs on the ground a few feet away from their anxious mother. For a tense moment, the cheetah froze, ears pricked and muscles taut, her golden eyes glowing in the fading light. She approached cautiously, sniffing each cub. The rescuers held their breath. Finally, recognition flashed in her gaze. The mother bent down, licking each cub with swift, urgent strokes of her tongue. Her purring rumbled low and deep, vibrating through the evening air. The cubs, still weak but alive, whimpered softly and pressed against her warm body. One by one, they nestled into the safety of her belly, their small heads buried in her fur. The rangers watched in silence, moved by the raw, unfiltered emotion of the moment. They had risked themselves to fight a swarm of deadly bees, and now, seeing life restored, the reward was immeasurable. Kamau felt a lump rise in his throat, while Amina wiped tears from her eyes. It wasn't just a rescue, it was a testament to the bond that connected all living beings, whether human or animal. For the next hour, the team observed quietly from a safe distance, ensuring the cubs showed signs of recovery. One tried to stand on wobbly legs, collapsing back against its mother. Another managed a faint playful swat at its sibling, as if trying to return to normal. Slowly, life began to seep back into them, their resilience shining even in weakness. The mother cheetah lifted her head and looked at the rescuers one last time. Her gaze was steady, neither hostile nor afraid. In that brief exchange of eyes, the rangers felt an unspoken gratitude. They knew the wild had no words, yet they believed that somehow, she understood. Night settled in, stars shimmering across the velvet sky. The grasslands hummed with the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. The rescue team packed up their equipment, exhausted but fulfilled. As they prepared to leave, they glanced back one last time. Under the silver glow of the moon, the mother cheetah curled around her cubs, her body forming a protective circle. Their tiny purrs mixed with her steady breathing, a song of survival, of life that had been snatched back from the jaws of death. The heart-stopping rescue would forever remain etched in the memories of those who witnessed it. For the rangers, it was a reminder of why they dedicated their lives to protecting wildlife. For the cheetah family, it was a second chance, a chance for the cubs to grow, to run, to one day rule the savannah with the speed and grace only cheetahs possess.